Click the bell icon to get latest videos from Ekeeda.
Hello friends. Since we've been discussing about n number of things related to management and managerial skills, now we've come to a level where now we need to understand what do we exactly mean by competency management. Friends, competency management has been into the world of management industry or management system since almost 40 years now. It's a very old process. Naming it new every time we renew it. So it's like every year renewal, it gives a new name to the same competency management which has been there since 40 years back down the line. What is it? How does it go about? What is the exact definition of competency? What do you really have involved into competency management is all that we are going to cover in this video today. So let's see how we can talk more on competency management, its definition, its benefits, its crisis, what happens if there are issues with it, and how to face n number of things into the different world, into the global environment. Friends, competency management is basically a lever of business in any generations right from 40 years ago. It has been in place whenever there has been a new hiring, there has been promotions, there have been achievements towards anything, or there has been appraisals. Now, these are all the different levels at our business where we do a lot of enhancement with our staff. So basically, competency management is something to do with all the skills related to the staff, related to our people who are working in an organization. So the major idea of competency is nothing. Many people take it wrong. Many people think that competency means competing with different businesses or competing amongst each other in the business. It's not always that. Competency management means how to take the best out of an employee and how to reach to the goal with the teamwork towards one goal which is then achieved as a target goal. Now, to reach up to that goal, there are n number of things which have to be followed. So let's take into consideration hiring, development, mobility, promotions, appraisals, and definitely at a different level, which right from the promotions to the hike. So that's called the hike. Hike is different, promotion is different. So all these places we've been working on it since almost 40 years. So competency management has been there since 40 years back. It continues even today as the most essential part of our businesses, as the most essential part to all the peoples in working in our business. Is the most effective management of human capital. So to raise a human capital, it is very important to consider all these points. So after my saying so much, you definitely come to a point where we now know why exactly the competency management is used. It's used majorly to implement the competency management to drive employees' development, at the same time performance excellence. So if the best excellence of a employee is needed or has to be showcased, or if there has to be an employee development right from his promotions to his appraisals to his hike, or even appreciation, that's when we bring together 4 key definitions or 4 key major aspects of competency management. Now, these 4 competencies within every individual are abilities, behavior, knowledge, and skill. We all are comprised of these 4 elements within us, and it's definitely very important to showcase all of this at the right place. So imagine if you have so many skills and behaviors and abilities and knowledge within yourself, and if it is not showcased at the right place, it doesn't work. Some common competencies are analytical thinking, communication, flexibility, integrity, and teamwork. Now, by using all our competencies, we develop all these various aspects in an organization, and that's how this management is called competency management. Now, let's see how does it help us to grow within ourselves and the business that we are in. So we are not only growing ourselves, we are also growing and pushing ahead the business that we are growing in. It's like a win-win situation for us and for the business that we are into, or in the organization what we are into. So if you look at the competency model, it is the set of key competencies, ideally 7 to 10. So there are 7 to 10 keys of these competencies, where it forms a competency model carefully selected in alignment within an organization's business goal. So when there is an organization business goal that's set, there are 7 to 10 different keys of these competencies which needs to be input, and from the on behalf of the company as well as from the employee side. High performance models include 4 major types of competencies. Let's see what are those. First one is core competency. Second is leadership competencies. Third is functional competencies. And fourth is career competencies. Now, these are the major factors which help our organization to grow ahead and reach to the target. As you look into the slide, you will be able to see what I really mean to say by core competencies. Now, if you see, these are all the core competencies that are or that revolve around the first level of our management, which is core competency into competency management. Now, if you see competencies and if you see the core competencies, which are the niche requirements of an organization to grow and to widen up their width on their growth along with the employee development, we see that there are a lot of things that we can work on and people work on basically. So knowledge renewal is one of the core competency, where every time it's very important to renew our knowledge. Anyway, that's one of the key major factor of core competency. Talent renewal. So along with your knowledge renewal, it's also very important to grow your talent, and that's how you showcase it with a talent renewal. Performance management. So we've been doing organizational performance management. So you can look into that video of mine, which is called Organizational Performance Management. You'll come to know what exactly it is. So along with the employee development, also what we are talking about is the performance management of the entire organization. So that's the complete sentence, or the complete term would be organizational performance management. Performance enhancement. Now this is something to do with both, not only the organization but also the employee. So after the performance of the management, it all depends on the enhancement. So performance has to enhance of that person to reach up to the organizational performance management. Professional development. So being into an industry, it's very important to professionally develop yourself. It's not easy, but at the same time, it's the most important and critical situation if we cannot cope up with all the work that we are doing in our organization. So suppose if an organization has a requirement of X and we cannot give it Y. So that's the reason professional development is very important. And skill upgradation. When we say skill upgradation, there are a lot of things that come in. We can talk about communication, we can talk about languages. So these are some skills. We can also talk about soft skills as a whole, like behavioral skills or operational skills. So these skills have to be developed, where trainers like me come into the picture, come to the organization, train the staff on various skill sets. So these are all your core competency, without which we cannot think of performing better as employees. So you as employees, this is a very important chart for you all to understand what are your areas of improvement. Now, if you focus on these areas and if you read more on it, you will get an entire idea of how can you achieve your target or reach to your goal. Continuation of the video. Friends, do not forget that reaching to your goal is very important. So any company setting a target to the company's requirement or setting a target for the organizational performance management of a goal of the performance of the company, it's very important first for you all to set a target for yourself. So until and unless you don't set a target for yourself that where you want to reach, say 3 years down the line in that same company, it's very difficult for the brand to take you at that level, because you yourself are lost and you don't have a target for yourself. So before getting into understanding what is organizational performance, I think it's very important to understand what are the performances that you can showcase. So friends, let's move on the next slide, which talks about a competency proficiency scale. Now, this is as good as measuring your competency management in your organization. So if you see, it is like a scale which gives you rating, which can be defined at ratings, or it can be also measured at their expected levels. So there are certain levels that the organization expects the employees to reach to. Now these levels can be markings of 1 to 10, or it can be markings of any bullets, which maybe a smiley or any kind of phrase where the organizations become, it's very important for the organization and easy to mark you at that particular level. So every given point of time, you are rating yourself at an expected level by the organization. So this is a competency proficiency scale which helps you to understand where you stand, where did you start, where are you now, and where do you want to end. Leading practice scales have behavioral indicators. So there are a lot of behavioral indicators if you see as a building blocks which are related to your behaviors. So as I told you, in competency management, one of the major key factors is also your behavior. So there are certain behavioral indicators which help you to understand where are your building blocks, where it is related to your behavior, organized under each competency. So if you've seen the core competency, every competency would showcase what kind of behavior do you carry in each of the competencies. So it's very important, friends, to understand where is our behavior lacking, and that's exactly what is called as behavioral skills. To name you some of your behavioral skills, I would tell you how should it go and how can you help yourself. Now this is something which no one would tell you, but your behavioral skills comprises of your time management, your goal setting, your art of execution. Now these are the three major areas of your promotions, appraisals, hike. This would help you to cope up with your behaviors at every given point of time in every core competency or any competency level. By having them right in place, it helps you to do a lot of other things which otherwise you are not known about. There are other behaviorals as well, like conflict resolution, there are stress management, behavior of passion at work. So all these are certain behavioral skills which also are very responsible of taking you ahead in life. In fact, they are life skills. So without these skills, we are nowhere. So these behavioral indicators help you to understand what kind of behavior do you portray, what was your level then, what are you at now, and how can you move ahead further. So if you see the scale rating, it ranges from 3 to 7, which is like the mastery, and the 5 levels are like the common levels. So this is all about how do we rate our competency ratings according to our measurements of not only competency but also our proficiency. So this is a scale how you can measure them along with your behavioral indicator. Let's move ahead to the competency management, which is a set of management practices that identifies and optimizes the skills and competencies required to deliver on an organization's business strategy. So it's also a management. It's the major thing is it is a management skill. A management skill is definitely responsible to understand how we can optimize our skills and competencies for delivering the organization's best level business strategies. So every time, any business you go, anywhere you work, any organization you are as employees, it's very important to first understand what are the business goals, what the goal is set as, and what are the strategies that they follow. At the end of the day, you will have to work on those strategies and you will have to have your competencies in place moving ahead towards those strategies. So friends, it's very important to have everything in alignment along with your core competencies, your behavior, and understanding the strategies of your organization. So competency management provides the foundation to manage strategic talent management. So there are a lot of talent acquisitions, out of which one is strategic talent management. Practices such as workplace planning, majorly important. We need to understand what's the workplace planning. Acquiring top talent. So it's not only your planning, it also needs right people in place. So right people are basically people who have certain abilities with them and they're selected, and then they groom themselves in their skills and behaviors and in various different key competencies. So first of all, planning of workplace. Secondly, acquiring the top talents and developing employees to optimize their strength. It's all about development of our employees or your employees to optimize the fullest of what they have. Many a times it happens that while we investigate or while we take an interview of a staff, a newly joining staff who's going to come in, and that person actually, we could as an outsider understand what his abilities and capabilities are, but at some point of time it becomes very difficult for that same person to gauge himself on what best he's at. So there are two things when we talk about a person as a whole before getting hired, or before a person even has his own wish of getting into which industry. There are two things that everyone should look at. One is the ability and one is the interest. Many a times it happens that people are extremely passionate and interested about focusing on one part of the career, but at the same time their abilities are something else. They must be extremely good at something else. Like, to give you an example, a student, let's take a simple example of a student. So say a student would be amazing at his zoology or biology. So biological science, it's his interest and he must be good at it, but being an interest, he's amazingly interested in it, but his ability is to score 70% in biology. At the same time, he's amazingly good when he does some calculations and formulas and flowcharts about certain chemicals. So at that point of time, that's his ability to grasp the chemical reactions or chemistry for that matter. So his chemistry would be 90%. So even if he's interested in biology, his ability is in chemistry. How do you come to know that? Only after doing certain tests. So to give you one simple example, there are psychometric tests which I normally talk about. I also do certain psychometric tests which helps me to understand people's and students. Being a career counselor also helps me to understand people's and students' abilities and interests, and then we club it up to come to a conclusion of what best can be achieved out of this person. Many big corporates have taken this into practice, and before hiring someone at some level, at some top management level, they make him go through the psychometric test for a person to understand what best acquired talent is it that he has in himself. So what are his abilities, what are his interests, and then it becomes very easy for developing that employee's entire strengths on focusing on his abilities or interests or whatever he's best at, or maybe a combination of both. So friends, this is how the entire competency management works. It not only works on taking the best person in, it also works on his development. It not only works on the business target, it also helps the people to understand the strategic management of the entire business. And believe me, if there is a correct match of all of this along with the behavioral skills, there's nothing that cannot be achieved. So the right person in place, the right development done on that person, the right kind of planning of business, the right kind of planning of workplace, the right kind of talent strengthening, and finally a perfect strategy for growing the business in the right way would help definitely each and every person and the business to grow high with its best competency management. Friends, not to forget, competencies are the major foundation of the starting point of every business to reach to the high profession performance talent management. So any business that we talk about and we want to talk about the highest performance ratio, the first and foremost thing or the starting point to get started with is your competency management. So competency management along with your organizational performance, along with your enhancement management, all works together. So now next time when we are planning certain strategies, it's very important, friends, to have a look at what kind of people are we hiring. This is majorly for the HR section to understand what kind of people they want for their management. So friends, this was all about competency management that I can talk about. We will definitely talk more on it, for what all challenges do we face in, or what are the best benefits that we can take out of the competency management in other videos. For this video, I think it was more important to me to speak out loud on what exactly competency management would be, for all of you all to understand how can you as employees grasp it, and how can you as strategic planners of your own business can start using it. Thank you so much, friends, for watching this video. Please stay tuned to Ikeda and keep subscribing to our channel. Thank you.